I love thrift stores. It's a bit like a treasure hunt. Sometimes you walk out empty-handed, and sometimes you find things like this. When I saw this little suitcase record player nestled between some VHS tapes and some old stereos, I fell in love with the form factor, and I knew I had to bring it home. That said, I think we can do a little bit better than an MDF case and some faux leather. So today, we're gonna give this record player a second chance and build it a proper enclosure out of some walnut and maple. Not only is it gonna look way classier, but hopefully it'll spark some ideas for your own thrift shop projects as well.
I started out by disassembling the record player to see what I was dealing with.
So I've been looking at images of wooden turntables and turntable cases online to try and find some inspiration for this project. I think I'm gonna end up somewhere along the lines of a thin strip of maple with a thicker piece of walnut in the middle and then another thin strip of maple at the bottom. I'm not quite sure how that's gonna look, but we're gonna give it a try. Because these pieces are all resawn from the same larger board, I can actually get a pretty decent grain match all the way across my box. It won't be exact, but if I take the time now to line them up and make sure that I'm cutting in the same place on each board, it'll look a lot nicer. Okay, now that we've got all of our walnut and our maple cut out, it's time to glue it up. I have a few spots on my boards where I got a little bit overzealous with my glue, so I'm gonna clean up those spots with my apron plane. If you're like me and you start out in woodworking using exclusively power tools, I'd really encourage you to start giving hand tools a try. I think being more of a hybrid woodworker gives you the best of both worlds. There are times where it makes sense to use a hand tool over a power tool, and there's times where I can save a ton of time and energy using a power tool. Now that I have my boards all cleaned up with the plane, I'm gonna cut 45-degree miters on each end with my miter gauge. I'm really just shooting for a rough length here. I'm gonna clean up the ends and make sure that the lengths are all correct at the shooting board.
Next, I cut a rabbet in each piece to hold the bottom of my record player case.
So now that I have the rabbets cut in the bottom of all of my side pieces, it's time for me to cut holes for things like the speakers and the ports in the back. One of the things that's gonna help me do that is this quick little jig I created here. I just dry fit everything, and I was a little worried at first, but it looks like all the components are gonna fit, so I'm feeling good.
I measured and cut the bottom board to its final size and then tested to make sure it fit. After a quick sanding, it was time to install some support pieces for the top of the record player case. After a coat of finish, I glued in the metal speaker grills. I resoldered a broken wire on one of the speakers, got them installed in the case, and closed everything up. After adding some rubber feet, the build was complete.
I'm really happy with how the record player looks here in my office. This is one of those projects where it might not be the most original woodworking creation, but taking a found object, transforming it, having to learn how the internals of it work and make it all fit into a new package that fits your style and aesthetic is a valuable exercise. Hopefully this gave you a few ideas for your next project as well. If you want to watch more of my woodworking builds, check the playlist right up there. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.